Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Aldas and today I'm going to be talking about drivers' helmets in Formula 1 and looking at the recent incident with Daniil Kvyat getting denied to wear a custom helmet at the Russian Grand Prix, and also just looking at sort of the response from the other drivers about the situation. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to be talking about whether the rules regarding the helmet design restrictions should be changed in the future to allow the drivers to be more creative in a larger amount of races. Now guys, don't forget, if you do enjoy the content on my channel and want to see more, don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and check out my social medias. Instagram and Twitter will be above. But guys, let's get into it. Now, before we get into the incident with Daniil Kvyat and the reaction from the other drivers, let's just take a look at some iconic and unique Formula 1 helmets, because of course, the driver helmet is such an integral part of kind of the driver really, because not only does it of course protect their head, and that is the most important thing, but it also allows the drivers to kind of express themselves, be creative, and really just make themselves stand out in the F1 grid with some unique designs and some pretty iconic helmets. Now, many drivers actually take a lot of pride in their helmet designs. I mean, Sebastian Vettel has to be, definitely over the last 10 years, the guy who's come up with some crazy designs. But also recently, Lando Norris has said on many occasions that he spends a lot of time on his computer and really is hands-on with designing his helmet. And he is also, I suppose, one of the newer guys of pioneering some crazy designs. And to be honest, from my point of view, I really do love to see that. Let's take a look at some iconic and unique F1 helmets, because I thought it's only right to talk about, a few helmets that really do stand out to me. And the first one we're going to look at is James Hunt. He had a very kind of cool and iconic helmet with, of course, his name splashed on the helmet, so you know exactly who it is, which kind of matches personality, that's for sure. Next, of course, if we take a look at Jackie Stewart's, now he had a very interesting helmet that was definitely personal to him. It was all white, except from basically, I always want to call it a tartan halo, sort of really on the top of it. So yeah, clearly quite a lot of pride in the fact that he is Scottish. Now, in terms of Jacques Villeneuve, now he has a very, I'm going to say, unique design. Whether you love it or you hate it, there's definitely never been anything like it. On a blue sort of base, there's a bunch of different stripe colors of pink, then yellow, then green, and then red. And to be honest, when I look at this helmet, the fact that I'm Lithuanian, the first thing I think of is the Lithuanian flag, because the Lithuanian flag is literally yellow, green, and red. So that is pretty much the first thing I think of. But yeah, Jacques Villeneuve, definitely an interesting helmet. In terms of Michael Schumacher, I mean, he's had a few little different helmets over the years, but the one that really stands out to me is his Ferrari red helmet. He changed it in the early 2000s, and I mean, it just kind of absolutely personified Michael Schumacher as well in his red Ferrari. I think it's only right to have a red helmet, and he even, of course, brought it back in the red design when he came back to Mercedes in 2010. In terms of Sebastian Vettel, I mean, the helmet he has now is, in my opinion, one of the very best ones on the grid. He actually brought it in 2015 when he joined Ferrari. I suppose kind of a new era for him, and boy, do I love the simplicity. I mean, the best helmets are always the ones that are simple, and this design is one that he's had for quite a few years now, for 4 seasons, but he's always had so many different variations, and he loves to change it around. But this sort of German flag, sort of a little bit offset to the midline on a white background, is just an absolutely classic design. And of course, the last helmet I quickly want to talk about is arguably the greatest of all time, easily the most iconic, and probably my favorite as well. It is the Ayrton Senna helmet. Again, very simple, but so iconic. That bright yellow, just the 2 stripes, and there's also been a few variations of it. Sometimes the bottom stripe was black, I think in the early days, then later on it was blue. Also, Ayrton Senna loved to change the interior color of his helmet. Sometimes it was blue, sometimes it was green, and this helmet, again, it's so classic. I mean, when I think of Formula 1, I love to think of Senna at his, of course, Dayglow red McLaren with that yellow pop of his helmet. And also, this helmet has got to be one of the most sort of tributed helmets of all time. So many drivers have had their own take on it in different races. So yeah, this helmet has been replicated by a lot of drivers, but in my opinion, it is easily the most iconic helmet in Formula 1. Now, also one of the really cool things that the drivers can do is actually change their liveries of their helmets for different races to basically sometimes celebrate maybe something, or pay homage to a different driver, or just various reasons basically. Some very cool helmets. I mean, Kimi Räikkönen in 2012, a direct copy of James Hunt's, it was a hero of his, and a really cool helmet design there. Jenson Button has also had a few really good ones. The 2014 pink Smurf helmet, that definitely is one that sort of stands out to me as definitely unique. I love that design, but my favorite Button helmet of all time, 2011 2011 Suzuka. He actually made it to help tsunami victims in Japan, and it had basically a white, it was basically a white helmet with a red Jensen button in Japanese on the side. Great helmet there. Michael Schumacher had a gold helmet to celebrate 20 years in Formula 1. Nico Rosberg in 2014 to celebrate Germany winning the World Cup. Quite recently, Daniel Ricciardo for Formula 1's 1000th Grand Prix had a retro helmet based around Jack Brabham's helmet, so that was also a really great design. And then finally, Lewis Hamilton tried to wear a special helmet for the 2015 Malaysian Grand Prix, and to be honest, this is probably my favorite sort of special helmet because this is absolutely gorgeous. It was kind of a similar design, but it was green and blue. I absolutely love this helmet, but he was not allowed to wear it because it basically went against the rules that were introduced for 2014, which is also what caught out Daniil Kvyat this year as well. But as far as that 2015 Malaysian helmet, he never got to wear it, even in a practice session. But boy, do I absolutely love that helmet. The combination of blue and green, that would have been a fantastic helmet to see him wear in his car. So moving on to 2019 and looking at all these iconic helmets, what happened with Daniil Kvyat and this whole helmet saga? Now, basically the FIA told him that Daniil Kvyat could not wear a special helmet that he had made for his home race at Russia. Now, basically they said that it contravened Article 9.1 of the sporting regulations, which was introduced back in 2014 to stop drivers having loads of different designs. And what Article 9.1 basically says is that in order for drivers to be easily distinguished from one another whilst they're on track, the crash helmets for each driver must, with the exception of one event of the driver's choice, be presented in substantially the same livery at every event during a championship season. A change to helmet livery will also be permitted if a driver changes team during a championship season. Now, the biggest example of this in 2019 would absolutely be Alexander Albon. Of course, he went from Toro Rosso to Red Bull, and as you can see, the two pictures of his helmets at the start of the year, and now, of course, more recently. On the left is his Toro Rosso one, and you can see it's definitely changed a lot because it's a lot more shinier. You can see the Toro Rosso logos instead of the Red Bull logo. His Red Bull one now is more matte, and yeah, it really kind of matches, it almost matches his car and his race suit perfectly. So you can see quite a subtle little change there, but certainly makes a big difference. Now, one of the really big things from that regulation, of course, is that the drivers can drastically change their helmet designs for one event during the season. And a really great example of this is in Monaco. You can see a fantastic picture. And by the way, I've got this picture as my sort of Twitter header because I just love this shot so much, of Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel in their Niki Lauda tribute helmets. Of course, Niki died just before the Monaco Grand Prix. So yeah, absolutely love this picture. And this was kind of their one really big different design for the year to remember Niki Lauda. Now, the reason why these regulations were brought in back in 2014 is basically the FIA said it was to help commentators and various other media personnel to help better identify the drivers. But to be honest, with the halo nowadays being so big and basically almost so intrusive as it is, I don't really think the commentators even use the helmets themselves to identify the drivers. Here is an example that I kind of want to use with you guys. Here is a picture of two racing points side by side, and when I really want to identify them, I actually don't look at their helmets because with the halo, you can almost barely see who's who. The first thing I look at is their numbers, and you can see Sergio Perez on the left, number 11, Lance Stroll on the right, number 18, or I use the color of the camera above their heads, which is different for different teammates. It's either black or yellow, and as you can see in Racing Point, Sergio Perez above his head, he has a black onboard camera, and Lance Stroll above his head has a bright luminous yellow onboard camera. And actually guys, here is just another really quick example. Now this is just a little game I want to play with you guys. Here is a picture of a Red Bull. Now I have specifically photoshopped out the driver's number, and who do you think this is? Is it Max Verstappen or is it Alexander Albon? Who do you think? I'll give you a few seconds. Is it Max? Is it Albon? Can you tell the helmets apart? Who do you guys think? Well, it's actually none of them. It's a bit of a trick question. This is actually Pierre Gasly back in preseason testing at Barcelona. So a little bit of a trick question for you guys, but did you get it? Maybe some of you did think it was Pierre Gasly, but certainly without the number, it's very difficult to see. So this is kind of the basis of my argument. Certainly that rule was brought in because helmets were needed to identify the drivers more easily, but now with the halos, I don't really think people actually use the helmets to actually identify the drivers. Now, one of the really big comparisons that was made during the weekend, and I made it as well, as to why it was really strange that Daniil Kvyat wasn't allowed to use that special helmet, was that there were so many drivers that had already used special helmets multiple times during 2019. Max Verstappen and Daniil Ricciardo being two drivers. I mean, Max, of course, has his regular helmet with a Red Bull design and a bit of white on the bottom as well, but in Austria, he had a special yellow helmet, and in Belgium, he had a brilliant orange helmet. I kind of wish it was his regular helmet, to be honest. I love the special orange one. And as far as Daniil Ricciardo, he is also also a driver who has had more than one special helmet on more than one occasion. We know that his regular helmet is kind of crazy, it's completely different to what he used to have, but he had a special helmet in China, the retro Jack Brabham helmet, and recently at the USA Grand Prix, again, a completely alien design compared to his regular one. It was a Texas Longhorn helmet, so again, two specific designs in two different races, which according to the rules, shouldn't happen. Now, in terms of what the drivers have said about this whole helmet saga, I mean, Daniil Kvyat was not very impressed. He actually called it a joke, the fact that he couldn't wear his special helmet. Lewis Hamilton actually put on Instagram, and I quote, he said, "How many of you think that it is BS that the FIA only allowed the drivers one helmet design change in the year? It's the only thing a driver is able to express their creativity with, and they block it." He actually did a poll, and 90% of people agreed with him on that one. In terms of Sebastian Vettel, the guy who's probably changed his helmet more times than I've had hot dinners, he also said that it is major BS. Seems like quite a popular word to associate at this little restriction. He said, "I keep changing it anyways. I think it's our helmet and we should be able to do what we want. We have very little room left to sort of express ourselves, and the helmet is probably the only one. If people like it, that's great. If they don't like it, well, it's not their helmet." And Max Verstappen also joined in to share his opinion, and he said, "I always loved when Seb was at Red Bull and changing his helmet every race. It was cool because you were just like, what is he going to come up with now? I do a few. I'm not going to say that I will do every race a different helmet because it's just too much effort in designing a helmet." Now, there is always two sides to a debate, and in this case it's also the same, because to play devil's advocate, a lot of people have said that, especially for sponsors and everything to do with that sort of side, the financial side, people want to have their logos on very specific places, and if drivers always change their helmet designs, it's very difficult on that sort of side. And as far as some fans, they also say that they don't like drivers changing their helmet every single race because they want drivers to have an identity and just stick with it for the entire year. So I totally understand people from both sides of the argument and what they want. To me personally, I really like custom helmets. I just love all the different designs, and I used to love Sebastian Vettel in 2011, I think. He actually got an award from the BBC for changing his helmet pretty much every single race, and he was just so creative with it. And I think Lando Norris is also one of those drivers that's been getting really creative with his helmet, so I love to see that. So that's where I really side on that argument. But what do you guys think? Do you think these helmet rules should be relaxed? Should drivers be allowed to have whatever helmets they want in whatever race they want? Or do you think it should be one helmet the entire season and perhaps just one special helmet? Let me know in the comments below, guys, and I really cannot wait to see what you guys think. Well guys, there you go. That is my video on the whole 2019 helmet saga. As I said, let me know what you guys think and where you fall on this argument, and also let me know what your most favorite helmet design is of all time. I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. And anyway, if you did enjoy this video, guys, don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and check out my social medias. Instagram and Twitter will be above. I'm like 40 Twitter followers away from 1,000, so please drop me a follow. I'd be massively appreciated. But anyway, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.